I didn't expect my life to change because of a simple question asked over a shared fence on a quiet Tuesday evening. It started with a laugh, mine, awkward and a little too loud, after another failed date story I was telling myself in the reflection of my kitchen window. I had just gotten home, tie loosened, disappointment sitting heavy in my chest. The city buzzed around me, but inside, everything felt still and empty. Across the narrow strip of grass that separated our homes, she was watering her plants like she always did at that hour. Maya. My neighbor for 3 years. The one person who always seemed to exist in the same rhythm as my evenings, yet somehow lived in a completely different world, one that felt calmer, warmer, fuller. Another bad date, she called out, not even looking up, as if she already knew. I let out a breath. Is it that obvious? She smiled, still focused on her roses. You only sigh like that when someone disappoints you. I walked closer to the fence, resting my arms on the wood. Maybe I'm the problem. That got her attention. She turned, studying me in that quiet, thoughtful way she had. You really believe that? I don't know, I admitted. I keep trying, and it never works. Either I don't feel anything, or they don't. It's like I'm always just slightly out of sync with everyone. She turned off the hose, letting the silence settle between us. Come here, she said softly. I stepped closer, and she leaned against the fence, close enough that I could see the tiny scar above her eyebrow, a detail I'd noticed 100 times but never asked about. Okay, I said, forcing a small smile. You've watched my dating life crash and burn for years. So tell me, what am I doing wrong? It was meant to be a light question. A half joke. Something to fill the space. But Maya didn't laugh. Instead, she looked at me like I had just asked something much deeper than I intended. You really want to know? She asked. Yes, I said, more serious now. She hesitated. And for the first time since I'd known her, she looked nervous. You're not doing anything wrong, she said finally. That's the problem. I frowned. That makes no sense. You're kind, she continued. You listen. You show up. You try. You care. Her voice softened. Most people would be lucky to have that. Then why doesn't it work? I asked, frustration creeping in. She looked down at her hands, gripping the edge of the fence. Because, she started, then stopped. I waited. The world around us seemed to quiet, like everything was holding its breath. Because you're giving that version of yourself to the wrong people, she said quietly. I exhaled, nodding slowly. Yeah. Maybe. But something in her tone told me there was more. Maya, I said gently. What are you not saying? She closed her eyes for a moment, like she was arguing with herself. When she opened them again, there was something different in them, something raw. I didn't want to say anything, she whispered. I told myself it wasn't my place. My chest tightened. Say what? She met my eyes. Because I'm one of the people who's been waiting for you to notice. For a second, I didn't understand. Then it hit me all at once. The late-night conversations over the fence. The extra coffee she'd sometimes leave on my porch. The way she always remembered the small things I said, even when I forgot them myself. The way she looked at me like I mattered. My voice faltered. You're serious? She nodded, her expression steady but vulnerable. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Somewhere between talking about your terrible dates and you helping me fix my broken kitchen cabinet. She gave a faint, sad smile. You became my favorite part of the day. I felt like the ground had shifted under me. Maya, why didn't you ever say anything? Because you were always chasing someone else, she said simply. And I didn't want to be another complication in your life. You deserve to figure things out without feeling pressured. There was no accusation in her voice. No bitterness. Just honesty. And something else. Kindness. The kind that chooses silence over selfishness. The kind that lets someone go, even when it hurts. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process everything. I don't know what to say, I admitted. You don't have to say anything, she replied quickly. I didn't tell you because I expect something. I told you because you asked what you were doing wrong, and the truth is, you weren't looking in the right direction. Her words lingered in the air. I looked at her, really looked at her, for what felt like the first time. Not just as the neighbor who shared small moments with me, but as someone who had been quietly, selflessly caring about me, all along. You've been there for me through everything, I said slowly. Why? She gave a small shrug. Because you needed someone. And because? I wanted to be. That's it. Isn't that enough? She asked softly. It was more than enough. And suddenly, all the failed dates, all the mismatched connections, all the frustration, it started to make sense. I had been searching for something meaningful, while overlooking the person who had already been showing me what that looked like. Not with grand gestures, but with consistency. With patience. With heart. I think I've been an idiot, I said under my breath. She shook her head immediately. No. You've just been human. I let out a small laugh, the tension in my chest easing for the first time that day. Can I ask you something? I said. She nodded. If I had noticed sooner, would it have changed anything? She thought for a moment. Maybe, she said. Or maybe we needed all this time to become who we are now. I leaned a little closer to the fence. And who are we now? She met my gaze, a quiet strength in her eyes. Two people who finally stopped pretending not to see what was right in front of them. The simplicity of her answer hit harder than anything else she'd said. Because it was true. I had spent so long chasing the idea of love that I missed the reality of it. Standing just a few feet away. Would you? I hesitated, suddenly unsure in a way I hadn't felt in years. Would you be willing to give this a chance? With me? Her breath caught slightly. You're not asking this because you feel like you should, right? She asked carefully. I don't want to be your maybe. You're not a maybe, I said firmly. You're the first thing that's made sense in a long time. She searched my face, as if trying to find any doubt. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too, I said. But I think that's a good sign. A small smile appeared on her lips. Yeah, she said softly. Maybe it is. We stood there for a moment, neither of us moving, but everything between us shifting. Finally, she let out a quiet laugh. So, does this mean I get to officially give you dating advice now? I grinned. I think it means I should have asked you a long time ago. She reached out, resting her hand lightly on the fence between us. Better late than never, she said. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't understood before. Love isn't always loud. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or perfect timing. Sometimes, it grows quietly in the background, in shared glances, in small acts of care, in the spaces we overlook because we're too busy searching for something else. And sometimes, all it takes is one honest conversation. One moment of courage. To finally see what's been there all along.